You already know he's not right for you, and if you're being really honest with yourself, you've known this for a while, probably longer than you'd like to admit. And yet, here you are, still in it, still wondering why you keep ending up in the same place with a different person. I work with women on exactly this pattern, and what I found is that it almost never has anything to do with him, but everything to do with your energy. In this video, I'm going to show you why smart women stay longer than anyone expects, what your nervous system is actually doing when you can't leave, and why the trigger that keeps going off in your relationships is pointing to something much deeper than the relationship itself. Because once you understand what's really keeping you stuck, the whole pattern finally starts to make sense. Let's get started. Here's what I find fascinating about this pattern, and something that comes up again and again when women are really honest about their relationships. If you ask someone who's in or has been in the wrong relationship, 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you the same thing, that they always knew. And this doesn't happen at the end, after the 3rd argument, or even the 5th disappointment. It's almost always right at the beginning that they knew something was off. And sometimes there's even an exact moment. Maybe it was something he said or didn't say. Maybe it was a feeling in your body, but because you couldn't explain it, you ended up ignoring it. Or maybe a friend saw what you couldn't see, but instead of listening, you defended him and pushed that feeling aside. You knew and you stayed anyway. And so the question isn't, why didn't I see it? Because you did. You saw it and you actually felt it. The real question is, why did you stay? The answer is deeper than most people are willing to look, because staying felt safer than leaving. And when safety and truth don't match, most people, more often than not, will choose safety. This is supported by neuroscience. When the brain perceives a threat, it defaults to the familiar, and leaving a relationship can absolutely register as a threat, regardless of whether it's actually good for you. The familiar is predictable, and the brain prioritizes predictability over happiness. So there's nothing wrong with you. You're not weak. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do, protecting you from the unknown, even when the unknown might be exactly what you need. That's what keeps smart women stuck the longest. And this is where I want to challenge something, because we have this idea that if you're smart enough, educated enough, and self-aware enough, you simply won't fall for it. You'll see the red flags early, you'll leave before it gets messy, and you'll make the rational choice. But in my experience, working with women on these patterns, I think smart women stay longer. And here's why. Smart women are exceptionally good at rationalizing. You can build a genuinely convincing case for why this relationship could work. You can see his potential, even when his behavior is telling you something completely different. You can understand his childhood, his attachment style, his circumstances, and honestly, you're probably right. But what's also happening is that you could hold both the reality of what's happening right in front of you and the story of what it could become at the same time, and you'll almost always choose the story. And that's not weakness, by the way. I've sat across some of the most intelligent women I've ever met and watched them do this in real time. And loyalty and perseverance are real qualities. They're just working against you in this particular situation. Psychologists call it cognitive dissonance, the discomfort of holding 2 conflicting beliefs simultaneously. What's interesting is that highly intelligent people are often better at resolving cognitive dissonance, not by changing their behavior, but by constructing more sophisticated rationalizations for why the behavior makes sense. In other words, your intellect can become the very tool that keeps you stuck. Because your intellect can override your intuition when your nervous system has already decided that leaving feels more dangerous than staying. And that's the part we need to go deeper on. This is the part that can feel really uncomfortable. And I want you to really hear what I'm about to say, because I mean it with genuine compassion. The reason you stay has very little to do with him, and it has everything to do with what staying is giving you. Or in other words, what it's protecting you from. Because every pattern we repeat has a payoff, and it's not a conscious one, and not one you would choose if you sat down and thought about it logically. It's a subconscious one, something your nervous system has decided is necessary for your survival. Maybe staying means you don't have to face being alone, and being alone feels like being abandoned, and being abandoned feels like something that happened to you a long time ago that you never fully healed from. Or maybe staying means you get to keep trying to fix something, and fixing things is how you learn to feel valuable, to feel needed, or to feel like you're enough. Or maybe leaving would mean admitting you chose wrong, and somewhere deep down, that feels like proof of something you've always been quietly afraid is true about yourself. And none of this is logical, by the way, but all of it is real. And here's what's important to remember. The subconscious mind is not oriented toward your happiness. It's oriented toward your survival. And if love in your early life came packaged with inconsistency, emotional unavailability, or the need to earn connection, your nervous system learned that's what love is supposed to feel like. And so until you understand what the pattern is protecting, you'll keep recreating it. Different person, same dynamic, because it's not about them, it's about you. And I mean that with the deepest compassion, because it's also the most empowering thing I can tell you, because patterns can change. Now let's go deeper, because this is where it gets really interesting and everything starts to make a different kind of sense. From an energetic standpoint, we don't attract who we want, and we don't attract who we think we deserve either. We attract who we are, or who we believe we are at a subconscious level. Your energy is constantly broadcasting a signal, and that signal isn't made up of your conscious desires or the list you've written down of all the qualities you want in a partner. It's made up of your emotional baseline, your subconscious beliefs, and your nervous system's deeply held understanding of what love is supposed to look like. And here's the thing most people don't want to hear. If the relationships you grew up around were chaotic, inconsistent, or emotionally unavailable, your nervous system learned to read that as normal and familiar, and familiarity to the subconscious registers as safe. And so when you meet someone calm, consistent, and emotionally available, it might actually feel a little bit boring, or too easy, or like something must be off because it doesn't have that edge. And when you meet someone who gives you that familiar push-pull, that hot and cold, the highs and lows energy, your nervous system lights up, and not because it's love, but because it feels like home, even when home was never truly safe. And that's not a character flaw, that's conditioning. Think of it like a radio signal. You can say you want to tune into something calm, stable, and supportive. But if your dial is set to a frequency that was calibrated in childhood, that's the signal you're going to keep picking up. And the relationship is just the receiver. The frequency is coming from you. And this is where the real work lives. Not in finding a better partner, but in actually shifting the frequency so that what you attract changes because you have changed. Let me give you a practical example of how this plays out in real life. Say you have a belief, maybe not a conscious one, maybe it's something you inherited, maybe it's something you absorbed just from watching your parents that says, love requires sacrifice, and if it's easy, it probably isn't real. Now consciously, you can reject that. Of course you want something easy, of course you deserve something healthy and stable, but subconsciously, that belief is still running. And so every time a relationship is easy, something feels off. So it makes you pull back and find reasons to question it. Or you find someone who makes it hard, and suddenly that feels like depth, like passion, like this is the one. Your subconscious isn't sabotaging you maliciously. It's just doing exactly what it was programmed to do, which is to match your external reality to your internal belief. This is what neuroscientists call confirmation bias at the identity level. Your brain is constantly scanning for evidence that confirms what it already believes to be true about you, about love, and about what you're allowed to have. When a belief lives below conscious awareness, in the body, in the nervous system, or what we might call the energetic imprint of past experience. Intellectual insight alone isn't enough to shift it. You can know the pattern and still live from it. And this is exactly why you can do all of the surface work, the therapy, the journaling, the affirmations, and the boundaries, and still find yourself in the same pattern 6 months later, wondering what happened. Because you haven't reached the root, and the belief is held in the body, in the nervous system, and in the energetic imprint of every experience that taught you what love is supposed to look like. And now, here's the part I really want you to sit with, because this changed everything for me in terms of how I understand these patterns. Every time something in a relationship triggers you, something that really gets under your skin and lands in a place that feels disproportionate to what actually happened, that trigger is a seed. It's pointing to something unresolved, something that existed long before this relationship, before this person, and in a lot of cases, before you even had words for it. The jealousy that feels out of control, the fear of abandonment that makes you cling and then push away, the way you overfunction and exhaust yourself trying to earn love, the way criticism just shuts you down completely. All of these examples are seeds, every single one of them pointing to something that existed long before he came along. He didn't create those, he activated them. And that distinction matters enormously, because it means the work isn't about changing him or finding someone who doesn't trigger you. It's about going to where that seed was first planted. Because here's what happens when you don't. You leave the relationship, you take a breath, and you start fresh somewhere new. And then within 6 to 18 months, you're in the same dynamic again. Because you brought the seed with you. The external situation may have changed, but the internal wound stayed, and it will stay until it's actually addressed. And when you do address it, when you actually go back to where that belief was first formed, feel what was unfelt, release what's been held, your frequency changes. And when your frequency changes, what you attract can't possibly stay the same. This isn't magic, it's energetics. It's cause and effect at a level most people simply were never taught to look at. And I want to acknowledge something here because I think it really matters. A lot of women who find themselves in this pattern are incredibly self-aware. They know the pattern, they can name the attachment style, they can identify the childhood wound, and they can articulate exactly what's happening in real time. And they're still stuck, and that can feel so frustrating because you've done all the work, so why is this still here? But here's the distinction that changes everything. Understanding the pattern and energetically releasing the pattern are two completely different things. And you can know your wound and still be living from it because the wound isn't in your mind, it's in your body. It's in the energy you carry, in the way your nervous system responds before your thoughts even catch up, and in the identity you've quietly organized yourself around without ever consciously choosing to. And this is why intellectual insight alone isn't always enough. The shift has to happen at a deeper level, at the level of identity, at the level of what you believe, at a cellular and energetic level, about what you're worth and what you're allowed to have. Because when you genuinely believe at your core that you're worthy of something stable, consistent, easy, and real, you won't be able to tolerate the alternative. Not because you're stronger or more disciplined or trying harder, but because it simply won't feel like home anymore. And that's the real shift. So let me bring this back to where we started. You already knew, and the fact that you know, and you've stayed anyway, that's not weakness, it's information. This is your subconscious showing you exactly where the work is if you're willing to look. Because you're not staying because you're not smart, and you're not staying because you don't deserve better. You're staying because part of you, a part that was formed long before this relationship ever begun, is still running a very old program. And programs can be updated. The moment you stop asking, why can't I just leave? And start asking, what is this pattern showing me about myself that still needs to be healed? Everything changes because you stop being someone that things happen to you and you start becoming someone who is genuinely conscious of what they're creating. You stop reacting from the wound and you start responding from a place of real self-knowledge and real self-worth. And you don't fix this by finding the right person. You fix this by becoming someone whose frequency no longer calls in the wrong one. And that is entirely, completely, and fully within your power. Thank you so much for watching. If this video resonated with you, if you recognized yourself somewhere in this video, then I want you to know that this is exactly the kind of work we do together inside Evolve. Evolve is my private 7-week one-to-one program designed for high-functioning women who are tired of repeating the same patterns in their relationships and across their lives. We don't just talk about the problem, we go to where it lives, at the root, and we shift it there. Because you can keep doing the surface work, or you can go to the root level where change actually happens. So if it feels like the right next step, the details are in the description below, and I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care, transform your energy, and always stay inspired.